Hey, kids! This is the Fat Boyz Podcast!
Episode 2 with Lacey, Faithful Gamer. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the second episode of the Fat Boyz Podcast. Today we have Jay of Cold Nights, as you know, my big lovable buddy. How you doing, Jay?
Good. How we doing, Phil?
I'm doing pretty good, buddy. And we also have my bestie for the resty of life, Faithful Gamer, Lacey. What's going on, girl?
Doing great. How you fellas doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. So, for this episode, we got several discussions that we're going to hop into. But first, like always on Fat Boyz, you've got to have snacks and food because that's just how we do. So, Jay, what do you have tonight, my friend?
All right, so tonight, as far as liquid refreshment, we got the Diet Dew going, and we got not sponsored, but Rockstar. And then for bag snacks, we have Pizza Puff, double cheese. Then we got Bugles flavored with Hidden Valley Ranch. And then my personal favorite, peanut butter and chocolate Muddy Buddies.
Ooh, nice.
That's the way to go. So we will be consuming these throughout the podcast because we are, after all, Fat Boys, and that's what we do. So what do you guys got going for food?
Lacey, you're up next. What do you have?
All right. Well, I have Clancy sour cream and onion chips.
Look good. I've never heard of that brand. Looks good.
Yeah. Got these from Aldi's. So you got an Aldi's anywhere, highly recommend these. They taste better than Lay's, honestly.
All right. What do you got to drink?
Yeah. And for drinks, I have cranberry grape juice in my Dragon Ball cup. So I'm drinking this in style.
It's Goku Grape.
Yeah, that's right.
Goku Grape.
It's Beerus Berry.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
would have been better if Beerus was actually on here, but this was before the Super Saga. So, all right. And I've also got Sprite. Always have to have one of these on hand all the time.
Yeah.
Not only is it fizzy and good, but also helps to settle the stomach when you tend to overindulge a little bit.
She has a very sensitive palate. I know these things. And
yeah, you know, Phil.
Yeah, I know. And for me, I've got a little platter of some Velveeta cheese and some jerky with some honey mustard.
So how's the honey mustard?
Oh, it's so good. And I'm drinking some bubbly Dr. Pepper in a Coca-Cola cup.
Nice.
That's a big contradiction, but you know, that's just how we do. Now, with the snack talk out of the way, we got some topics to get into. And the first thing that I want to talk about is The Legend of Zelda. New gameplay and footage, the console and the controller that Nintendo unveiled to us. I want to get each of y'all's thoughts on the gameplay, the console, and the controller. So, Lacey, what did you think of Tears of the Kingdom? Did you see the footage? Let us know.
Yeah, yes, I did. And also I'm representing in style because I have Link.
Great shirt.
Yeah, thank you. So my thoughts, I actually have some mixed thoughts about the gameplay. While I do enjoy the graphics, you know, the music, everything, it's very engaging. It's massive open world. I love open world. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a sucker for massive open world, you know. So I love all the exploration. But there were some elements to the gameplay that were kind of weird because there's a part where you have to rewind what looks kind of like a rock, but it kind of moves like an elevator when you rewind to get up to a sky island, which it's actually a little bit comical, but it's just, you know, one of those things probably have to get used to once I actually play it. But I love the fact that you can use stuff from the environment to craft things. Really gives you that sense of resourcefulness. And it's also kind of funny too, because, well, let's face it, you can make a makeshift hammer from a tree branch and a rock. So, I think that's really great. But from what I saw of it, it looks really promising overall.
Oh, that's awesome. Jay, what was your thoughts on the gameplay? You saw it, of course.
So, I've made it abundantly clear that I wasn't super entertained by Breath of the Wild. So we'll say, reserved in my excitement for it, but I'm still very excited for the parts of the story that really revolve around Zelda. I've said before, like on my streams and stuff, I'm super excited about that redesign with the short hair. I think it looks incredible. And, Zelda is absolutely my queen. And I think she's going to look incredible with that short hair. We'll see how the gameplay looks. I was a little concerned with that aerial gameplay because another game that I adored the story, just like I did Breath of the Wild, but absolutely couldn't stand the gameplay with Skyward Sword. And if there's going to be a whole bunch of aerial parts, I honestly, that would be a concern for me. So we'll see what happens with it. So cautiously optimistic because of Zelda and some of the great like graphical and like art direction choices. Not so optimistic with where it seems like they're taking the gameplay. So the verdict is still out, and we will see what happens with it.
All right. So me personally, I just kept thinking how this game is impressive for the Switch, but how much more impressive it could be if Nintendo would stop being an old dinosaur and actually get with the times and put out a console that could really blow our minds. I mean, imagine Breath of the Wild, but on like a next-gen Elden Ring level or something. I don't know. After Elden Ring came out, it set the bar so high for open world games that it's like, how can you compete? But I will say it looks visually pleasing, but it does look like it's reusing a lot of Breath of the Wild assets. I did see some people saying this is just Breath of the Wild with like a big DLC expansion pass. I can kind of see that. But the big things that I really took away from it is the crafting. And I thought that is so cool. And that rectifies the whole really brittle weapon breaking in the game. Like, it was so bad from what I hear. I still haven't played Breath of the Wild, so I'm not going to be getting this day one at all. But I know a lot of the issues people had with that game and how barren the world was and how there wasn't big dungeons with puzzles to do, which is a big Zelda thing. And I like dungeons and getting to use the tools. So the crafting is really cool. I wonder how in depth it is. Like, could I build my own house and literally Animal Crossing the crap out of this Zelda game? Because if I could, that would be awesome. And it also made me think about how cool would it be if you could actually have an online mode and get like a couple of your friends together and you're all running around as like Zelda characters, building your houses and your weapons and your bases and all that, building your own little corral for your animals and your horses and whatnot. That would be awesome. I would literally probably spend hundreds of hours just doing that. But sadly, there's none of that in this game. Maybe if they did an expansion DLC or whatnot. But one thing that has me really possibly excited they do it is if you could put different ingredients and fuse it with the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield and give it different elemental properties, like a Master Sword with fire or ice or something. That would be really cool. I don't know if they're going to let you do that, but if they do, that would be awesome. So, I mean, I'm interested, but like I said, gotta play Breath of the Wild first, so I'm not going to rush out and get it. But that said, what did y'all think of the console and the controller? Jay, I'm going to go to you first.
hold on a second before we get to the next part.
Okay.
I gotta respond to your comments about the Switch. So I don't know if we've hit like an event horizon, but I honestly don't agree with you, and I don't agree with a lot of the people that are talking about the Switch 2, talking about a Switch Pro or an upgrade to the Switch. I can honestly tell you that Fire Emblem Engage, Cereza, and the Lost Demon, the way Octopath performed on the Switch, the PS5 has nothing to offer. The Xbox has nothing to offer. So the little bit of graphical improvement that we get from that more powerful console, for one, if the games aren't optimized correctly, it literally means nothing. Something like Forspoken was optimized very poorly and is doing poorly, which is really sad because it's a game that seemed like it had a promising premise and story. But I will compare Fire Emblem Engage or Cereza or the performance of Octopath, because I understand that's multi-platform, to anything on the PS5. I would say that Elden Ring, maybe God of War are the only things that really show any graphical fidelity that's past what the best optimized stuff on the Switch does. So I really think that the whole Switch 2 and Switch Pro thing is a lot of hot air. I don't know what we think it's going to add. I don't know what graphics we think are going to be better than what we saw in the games we're playing now. I don't see what it's lacking. I haven't yet played a game where I was like, damn, if this was on the PS5, it would be better. I certainly didn't feel that way about Fire Emblem Engage. So I'd have to disagree there.
All right.
But the console and controller, not interested in the console. And I know you hated the white chocolate dip on the controller. I think that looks cool. But I don't even have a Switch OLED. I never bought into it. And that's how confident I am in the graphical fidelity of the original Switch. I didn't even buy an OLED. I'm playing these games on my Animal Crossing basic Switch. I have a Switch Lite that I don't use. But yeah, so no on the console, yes on the controller.
All right, Lacey, what do you think?
Well, I personally think the console, it looks really pretty. But with as far as the controller goes, I mean, yeah, I kind of get the whole one grip is like darker than the other one's lighter. Like at first glance, it can look annoying and contradicting and everything. But at the same time, I guess, to kind of get past that, if you don't want to worry about trying to make it look how you want it to and color it in or something. I know some people might want to paint it or something, but I would like to think of it as light and dark, like for each grip. And I do love the art on it. It is very beautiful. And also, my husband is wanting to pre-order that console because, he knows how big of a Zelda fan I am. And he's like, you should get that. I mean, it's a nice Switch. We can play it in the living room and everything. Finally play it on a bigger screen as opposed to playing a Switch Lite, because we both have our own Switch Lite. And currently, I've been having some issues with mine because I've been having to reset it a few times. Like when you have to hold down the button for like 20 seconds and turn it back on. So I'm kind of leaning towards getting that and just taking in my Switch Lite and then having everything transferred over. So it could be a beautiful addition to my collection, and also I can play it on a bigger screen.
That's true. Also, because he works at GameStop, you can pre-order it at GameStop. You can get that employee discount. Yeah, you get that employee discount. Okay, so my thoughts on it, I was pretty open and honest about it. I think the dock on it looks really pretty. I thought that was really pretty. But the Joy-Cons look awful. One of them looks like somebody threw up on it. It looks like my cat threw up on it. The green, I don't like it. And then the other one is just like whatever. Aside from that, the Pro Controller, I did not like. partly the reason why I don't like the white is because it's just white. The artwork stops and it cuts off at that seam right there, and it doesn't continue down. Now, if it continued down, it would look okay, but it doesn't. It just stops, and it's like, was someone high at Nintendo when they were making this controller? I don't understand. Like, I don't. And I saw people trying to explain, well, it's in correlation to the game. It makes sense. Well, it doesn't to me. It just looks tacky. I don't like it. But I don't have a dockable Switch. I just have a Switch Lite, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to buy a Pro controller anyways. I'm not going to buy the OLED because I'm one of those people that is waiting for the next generation of Switch. I have my Switch Lite, and that's just how I am. I want the issues for like third party Switch games and some of the bad resolution, frame rate glitches, issues that come with that to be ironed out. And I don't like to put developers in a box where it's like, okay, you can make whatever you want, but you got to deal with these limitations. And I would rather have a platform where there's no limitations. You can make whatever you want and have the freedom to do so. The PlayStation 5 and the Series X, they need some damn games. They have all that power, but it's going to waste. It's like when that Xbox One that came out, the world's most powerful Xbox console, the Xbox One X or whatever it was called. That was a joke because there was nothing to showcase for it. So I don't think getting a PS5 or a next-gen system is wise right now. They really got to put out some games to showcase it for it. But when they do, I want the Switch and Nintendo and the fan base to still have the same ability as all the other consoles. So, yeah. Now, moving on to the next topic.
2,000 years later.
Ew. What is it with you and that like weird licking thing? You did that on the fucking original video you made.
I haven't dusted this thing in so long.
You got a dust bunny? Oh.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that short little commercial break. It was tasty. Now moving on to our next I don't know what's wrong with me. Now moving on to our next topic. So I want to discuss the pros and cons of retro versus modern gaming and what you both think about it. You think one is better than the other? Are you kind of feeling a little, weighed down by modern gaming? Do you miss like retro gaming? Just your general overall thoughts. And we'll start with you, Lacey. Let me know what you think about that.
Okay. Well, as a lifelong gamer, I can say that I actually prefer retro over modern. And one of the biggest issues that I've had with modern is the constant need for internet connection. And, all of the massive output of these online multiplayer games, which, I mean, nothing wrong with that. It's good for, people to come together, work to achieve the game goals, all that stuff. But in addition to having fun, you also run into toxicity.
Sure.
And there is one online multiplayer exclusive that I play, Dead by Daylight, and the community there is toxic as all get out. And I've actually had players message me on PlayStation telling me how much that I suck at the game, I need to uninstall it, and they've even gone so far as to name call me. And my response to that is no response. Because the saying, no response is a response, and in my opinion, the only way to win against a toxic person is not to play, because that's what they want. They want to get a rise out of you. So that's my biggest issue with modern gaming. And plus, you also have some gamers that are elitist who they tend to put down new players and stuff. There's all this emphasis on, well, you're not a real gamer if you haven't played this or you haven't played that. Or if you have too low a gamer score in their opinion, then you're not a real gamer. And I don't agree with that. Because if you play on any type of platform, it makes you a gamer. I play across all platforms, as you know. The only exception being Xbox. But I prefer retro mainly because you didn't have to constantly update. Because every time you want to play something, there's an update here, an update there. And then you think, this has to update. Okay, well, I'll just go to one of my other digitals and, I'll play that for a bit. But then that needs an update. And you try to go to something else and it needs an update. And it's just this never ending cycle. And you have such a lag because you have all these things that need an update. So, if I had to pick and choose, I would always go back to classic console gaming. And they have longer shelf lives, warranties too. You could drop something on, an older console, but it would still work. And you could just leave it sitting up in your shelf for probably a few years. It'd still work.
Jay, what do you think? What do you think about modern versus retro? Do you have a preference? Is one better than the other? Let us know what you think.
Well, for one, I'm enjoying the hell out of these Ranch Bugles. Very good.
Yeah, cool.
I like the nacho cheese ones. Those are pretty damn good.
I'm pretty sure all Bugles are good.
Yeah.
But
Right.
as we're starting to talk here, we're going to crack open this Rockstar. So, I'll tell you one thing. Lacey, great point about the updates.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing to see when I load up anything, whether it's on Switch or PS5, is day one updates. Because back on the PS1, PS2, Super Nintendo, if you made a broken game, that was broken forever, for posterity. For time immemorial, it was known that you made a shit, unplayable game. And there were games like that. And they've gone down in infamy as being shit and unplayable. So, I think of something like Space Ace for the Super Nintendo. When I was a kid, I was so excited to get that. The game is fucking awful. And if that came out nowadays, it would get 10 patches within the first 2 weeks trying to correct all the pitfalls in the game. But when I think of experiences that I can just turn on, not worry about online connectivity, not worry about people harassing or bothering me, I think of things like Suikoden, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, those kind of games, Resident Evil, all of those old classic games. Let's go back to Super Nintendo. Stuff like Street Fighter, UN Squadron, all of these games that I loved coming up, and there was none of these strings attached. So I'm definitely more of a retro person. I've bought all the things I need to stream retro games. I was streaming Sailor Moon on the Super Nintendo. So I've invested in that for myself and for my viewers and listeners. But I'm not going to say that modern gaming is complete garbage, because I have had some amazing experiences. And I would never, ever say that I want to solely play retro games. But they definitely have my heart. And as far as the, needing day one updates and the games not being on the carts for preservation in their most complete form, is really just garbage. And it kind of sours me on the modern scene. Nintendo, for a while there, was pretty good about it. But now every game I buy needs an update as soon as I put it in the damn system. So even on the Switch, the beloved Switch that I love so much that I fully converted to, it's still happening. So it is a disease that is pervasive through all modern consoles. And that is why I would definitely say retro is the way to go.
Agreed.
Well, my thoughts about it. I've become increasingly, and me and Jay have talked about this. I talked about this to Lacey on the phone. I've become increasingly frustrated with modern gaming. all the updates, the patches, the downloads, the mentality that publishers, developers, and license holders have. Well, oh, let's just push this damn thing out. We'll patch it later. We'll have day one patches. We'll have announcing DLC before the game's even released. It's ridiculous. And then when it comes to like the collector scene, all the FOMO behind all of it, like, oh, you don't want to miss out here. Oh, it's going to be limited print here, and it's not. And then there's an Asian English import version that has like 3 or 4 games on the cartridge versus the $40 or $50 one that you bought from this company over here, and all the collector's editions like $400 or $500, and they're filled with paper, no physical disc, bunch of DLC or junk that you could get at like Hot Topic or like some freaking craft store somewhere. It makes you feel like your arts and crafts kindergarten class or something. It just becomes too much. And then you get online and everybody's feeding into the FOMO, and their FOMO is spreading to other people. It's like everybody's got the G virus from Resident Evil, but instead of the actual G virus turning you into a zombie, it's like everybody's addicted to video games. It's a game virus, and it just keeps going on and on. And I find myself with so much stuff on my shelf that I've never even played. And I know most of those are probably nowhere even close to being as memorable, as classic, or timeless as those retro games. They aren't. Now, that's not to say there isn't good experiences. Oh, there is. There's a lot of great experiences. But there's just something about those retro games, and they maintain their value. They go up in value. And they released in a time where things were just built better. It's like cars now almost feel like they're built out of tin paper, and they wreck. It's shredded. But you used to have an old car back there. It was like a tank. It took a dent. You're like, we could just buff this damn thing out. It's fine. It can still go. You know, and that's what I miss. And I've been hearing things like, oh, Switch cards, they're not going to last past 10 years. The more better cartridges, the higher capacity ones that Nintendo used, they're mostly locked to just their IPs. Very few third party get it. So if you have like 1,000 Switch games, knowing that they may not even last more than 10 years, when you could still dust off an NES cart that was covered in filth in somebody's garage, it looks like came out of a damn horror movie, and it still works. That's saying something. And I just miss that. And we don't even have releases for all of those retro games. So many of them are lost to time. And like Jay said, if you made a shit game back there, it was shit forever. So they worked their asses off and made sure these games were good, because if they launched something bad, it could be the death of their company. Like, imagine if Square Enix would have released a bunch of shit games back there. We probably wouldn't even have Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts or any of the games they have now on Switch. They had to get it right. And their creative freedom was insane. They took risks. Look how beautiful the box art was. Now we just get a close-up of some main character's face, and it looks so shitty. I just miss that. So I would rather sacrifice most of that on my shelf and a lot of my Switch games in order to have those games that meant so much to me, that are actually more valuable because of the sentimental attachment I have with them. So to me, I feel retro is better in a lot of respects, but there are some great experience with modern gaming. When I find a really great game like Neo 1 and 2, getting to play that with a friend is amazing. They are out there. But it's like you gotta go through a sea of garbage to get to them. And most of the best ones are indie games. Like a lot of great indie titles out there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry about that. I went off on a tangent. Yes, student, speak.
So I will say, I don't want to be like a complete simp for retro. There is downsides to it.
Yeah, there is.
We haven't had to touch a memory card in 20 years, and it's great. It is also great, if it's not day one DLC, to be able to just download an expansion pack or DLC instead of pay another $50 for a physical game.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, for sure.
a good example,
like, you know, when like the Shivering Isles came out for Oblivion,
yeah,
that was another $40.
Yeah,
like if that was modern day DLC, it would have been $20 and you could just download it. And with a fast internet connection, it's 5 minutes and it's ready to go. And there is the problem with disc rot. It's real. It's sad. Like if you have PlayStation 1 or Saturn games, some of them probably don't work now. Like I'm almost afraid to check some of them. But it is what it is. Because like you said, we have newer things like the Wii U, and the Switch that are going to suffer from some of the same problems. But it isn't all, you know, shits and giggles, because we are looking at it through rose-colored glasses, and there was struggles we had then that we don't now. As much as I hate digital games, if there's a game that comes out like Metroid, right, that remaster, if you really can't get it and you're the biggest Metroid simp in the world, you can double dip and download that shit and play it day one if you want to. If you absolutely can't find it. Like if I can't imagine, like as much as like Cereza that I was just playing on stream meant to me, if I couldn't have got that and I knew how great it was, I would have got it digitally. Like I don't do it often, but sometimes you have to. So having that option, and honestly, we're a different breed. We are physical collectors. Some people aren't. I've watched a couple awesome YouTubers that have a mostly digital collection, and they probably spend just as much money as we do, and their house isn't filled with shit. So in a way, like they have an advantage.
That's true. I got so much shit.
Yeah.
My
Like
mom.
I love my stuff, but like, Jesus Christ, like, there's a lot.
Yeah.
So much.
When I see these,
going to be boxed in.
yeah, when I see these people that have these like little like a little shelf, but they're like, here's my 10 physical games and I have 200 digital games, I'm like, you know what, girl, good for you, because I will die in a heap of all this shit that I have. And
there's literally nothing but
be
boxes all over here. Like you cannot see it off screen. I would turn my camera. There's so much, but there's so much junk. I don't even want to.
It'll be like an episode of Hoarders.
Yes,
they're gonna find like a dead squirrel under my games. They're like, there's a raccoon that came into an open window and died under Jason's.
It's like Sly Cooper.
Game.
Sly Cooper, is that you? No wonder you haven't put out a damn game. You've been dead this whole time under Jason's Sailor Moon collection.
Like we lost a couple of cats in the game horde like a couple weeks ago. I don't even know where they went. We had 4 and now we got like 2. Like what the hell's going on?
God, not bad. I don't want to think about that, but that could very well be a real thing. Which is
so
they should just
like,
make it
again. Like things used to be pretty shitty too. And one thing I don't miss is jewel cases. Holy crap. You put your finger down on that thing too hard and it cracks right across the front.
Oh my god!
And you know what? The single ones would never ever break, but you get one of those fancy double ones for your collector's editions, that shit would snap as soon as you touched it.
Oh,
and you can't replace that.
Even worse with on shipping and it comes apart completely.
Yep.
You open it up and it falls out. Because I've had that happen to me. So
there is some, and I don't want to act like, oh man, modern gaming sucks completely.
No, it
doesn't. There's a lot of great games.
A lot
of fantastic games that I love.
Me too.
Like the Soul series, but oh man, I love those. Those are fantastic. I love those.
I'm gonna crush these up and snort them.
I would.
I dare you. And do
I will even hold your hair while you do it, and maybe I'll braid it. Like we'll make a whole adventure out of it. It'll be Fat Boys Part 3, you know.
This is getting kind of erotic.
Yeah,
maybe it should. Maybe we should get erotic.
Fat Boys OnlyFans,
baby. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
This episode's gonna be nuts. This is gonna be nuts. But
SFW, that's for sure. Make sure you slap that on there.
No, it's but man, I don't want to act like I hate modern game. I don't. There's like so many wonderful experiences out there. I guess as I'm getting older, I'm just getting more nostalgic for the retro stuff, and I want to add that back, because I foolishly got rid of so many great games, and it's sad that so many are not going to be preserved with the eShop closure for the 3DS and the Wii U. And a lot of these games, the only copies out there are these old retro physicals. And the license holders don't seem to care to put them back on the PSN store, the eShop, Xbox. They don't. Like, man, I don't want to pay $1,000 or have to emulate to play Kuon, one of the horror games that I would love in my collection. I would love if FromSoft was like, you know what, we're going to bring back Kingsfield, we're going to bring back Kuon, we're going to put a collection of all the old Armored Core games together on one cartridge or whatever. I would be totally down for that, but they don't want to do it because it doesn't make them money. And I get it. It doesn't make them as much money as it could, but for just wanting to play and experience those games, it's like the only options I have is either buy a really expensive copy off eBay that's probably going to come in shit condition because the seller is going to lie about it.
May not work.
It may not even work. And then you have to go through that whole nonsense. Or I have to slap on my pirate cap and set the high seas. Yo ho, One Piece, bitches. It's like, I don't know, man.
Just remember, dead men tell no tales.
Oh,
Yo ho.
But moving on from that, I want to move to our last major topic of the podcast is I've been getting really into horror movies of late, really been binge watching them. So I want to talk about horror movies you've really enjoyed, you've been watching lately, or just horror series you've been watching. So, Jay, I see you clapping your hands. You're really excited, buddy. You get to go first.
Oh, my God. All right. So, let me tell you, I am a horror aficionado. That's what my channel originally started as, and it's kind of morphed over time to like more of a collection focus, but horror movies are my thing. So I'll preface this by saying my two favorite horror movies of all time are The Shining and Us. And in this last year, I watched many horror movies, and a lot of them were bad, and a few of them were good. And the best horror movie I have seen since Us was Smile. I adore that movie. I adore everything about it. The actors and actresses in it were amazing. The short film that it's based off of from the director is amazing. And it features that girl that's on the cover. I can't recall her name now. She was the main character in the short film. In the short film, she goes to like her psychiatrist and she's telling him about these visions. And I won't spoil what happens in it, but it's really good. And in the movie, she's in that scene that classically most people have seen where she slits her own throat with like a shard of like a vase. And the movie was so good. And I've watched horror movies all throughout my years. And I remember I loved M. Night Shyamalan. And I remember the premise of The Happening was such a great idea. And in the end, when they explained it by plants pollinating the air with something that made us kill ourselves to defend the earth, it ruined what was a movie that was incredible with such incredible imagery. I mean, suicide is such a powerful image that The Happening was a really special movie until they explained it. And then it was dumb as shit. This was a much better explanation for a very similar story. And I won't say it's perfect, because when they did do the reveal on the antagonist, right? I don't want to spoil too much. I was not impressed by that, but I will say that 99% of the time when they show the nemesis or the monster or demon or whatever in a movie, it usually looks dumb as shit. but I adored the movie. I would give it like a 9.5 out of 10. Another one that I adored was Barbarian. And the problem with that was, once again, in the end, when they revealed what the monster was, I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking stupid. And I was like, I loved this movie, and I loved the acting, and I loved the characters, and then that, and yeah, like, have either of you seen Barbarian or plan to see it?
I have not
Yes,
seen it. I haven't even heard of it. I don't know where I could watch, but
So
I'll
Lacey,
watch
you've
it.
seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
Okay, so when the like mutated old lady rips a dude's fucking arms off and beats him to death with them, I was like, inbreeding doesn't give you super strength.
No, if anything, it makes you weaker. So
It doesn't make sense. Like an old lady that is inbred rips a dude's arms off and beats him to death with them.
Yeah, it's just,
6'8". I can't even rip people's arms off.
Yeah,
But
it went
the
off great.
atmosphere in the movie was incredible. The acting was incredible. And then the monster was a like malformed old lady
Would
that
you
like
say that's
wanted.
What is this, Resident Evil 7?
No, it's Resident Evil Crack Show is what it is.
Well, so like, but yeah, my best recently has been Smile. And I know that you recently watched Us. That's my all-time recent.
Oh gosh.
And kind of recent. It was a little further back, but I'm a huge fan of Peele. He's one of my favorites. And I love to Get Out, but I also loved his reimagining of Candyman. And I was super excited about Nope. Like, I had it day one that it was available for digital rental for like $20 on Amazon. And I loved that movie. I loved the imagery. I'm a huge fan of the imagery and cinematography. And the imagery they used was so incredible. And the same fucking thing with Barbarian. At the end, it's literally a fucking kite in the sky. It was it looked literally like, do you remember when we were a kid and in gym we played with a parachute and you would go under the parachute and run in and out? I was like, it's the fucking parachute from when I was a kid that's eating people. Like, it literally would have been better if they just didn't explain it at all. And I wish a lot of horror directors would realize that. Like, don't explain it. Don't show it. Just leave it a complete mystery, and everyone is better off.
Yeah.
So
let everybody guess ambiguously here. Yeah. Agreed on that for sure.
I've said my piece.
All right.
Dab.
Yeah. I agree but with Barbarian.
Yeah.
So
Jay went hardcore on that one. Lacey, what about you? What kind of horror movies or shows have you watched lately? I know BJ doesn't. I know your husband doesn't like them.
He doesn't.
So
yeah, I have to watch horror alone because my husband doesn't like horror. So,
but
I'm okay
tell us what you've been watching or checking out lately with horror.
Yeah. So recently I finished 2: Orphan First Kill and The Black Phone.
Okay.
So and Orphan First Kill, it's a prequel to Orphan, if you've ever seen that.
No.
And yeah, but anyway, it basically is how she became, who she was, or even worse than she was. Housed in a mental institution, homicidal tendencies, that whole thing. And I won't say too much about it so as not to spoil anything if you want to check it out. Anybody wants to check it out. But basically, I was not expecting how the direction of that movie went. It was it raised eyebrows. So it's like, what?
Oh wow.
So yeah. But I liked, the acting in it. It was really good. Kept me on the edge of my seat. It's gonna happen next. And so moving on to The Black Phone, I really, really like this one. It's set in the late 70s, but how this one goes, it's about a serial killer who abducts young boys. And the main character gets abducted and he's being kept prisoner in this house with a soundproof room. And there is a solitary old rotary black phone in this room, hence the title. And when he walks up to it to see if it works, the cord is cut. But then at a later point, he gets up and he hears the phone ring. So he answers it, and come to find out, it is the killer's previous victims that are communicating with him through this phone.
Ah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. That's I saw that movie. That was a pretty awesome movie. For me, lately I've been watching Us. I had to rent it. It was weird because Nope was free to watch, Candyman's free to watch, but I had to pay for Us. And I remember watching Get Out several years ago. I really liked that, thought that was good. So I watched Us, and man, that movie was awesome. I saw the plot twist at the end. I saw it coming way early on. I already knew it. But the cinematography, the acting, the humor, just everything was flawless about that movie. The music, the songs they used were so perfect at the right time. It was just so great. I know people have been saying, oh, let's have a sequel. I don't even know if we should. I don't want to ruin it. But if the director, I keep calling him Peely. I keep saying it wrong.
Peely's in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Jeff's got on to me. But I feel he is such a better director than he was as a comedy actor. And I'm not saying he was a bad comedy actor. I'm just saying this is his craft. He is amazing at this and should just continue going hard at it. So loved Us. I loved Nope. It was just so great. Like the cinematography, the humor there, these horror comedies that aren't like super overly cheesy, where everything is just done well, is so great. There were some great scenes in there, like the house covered in blood. I love that. And then the grisly old film guy saying, "Would I fly people later?" It was funny. I love that movie. It was great. I still need to watch Candyman. Got it queued. Still got to watch Smile. Got it queued. So yeah, those are great. I'm really liking that. I don't watch a lot of horror because it feels so cheesy. And a lot of them are like don't deliver in the end. Like you get to the end, you're like, this sucked. Why did I watch this? This is bad. But that's my thought on that. Yeah, Jay, go ahead.
So I have a mini topic on this topic. I see what we got for time. So I want to ask you two, what are two underrated horror movies that you've watched and enjoyed that you would recommend to our audience?
Oh man.
Yeah.
There's this one I watched that I can't remember the name of it. It was recent. It was like this girl, she gets abducted. She pretends to be like a cheerleader, and this guy abducts her and he puts her in this house, and they have to act the way he wants them to, and he like abuses them and forces them to have sex, and he like kills them and stuff. And some of those girls have been there so long that he's like groomed and brainwashed them, and showing how they end up escaping and everything. It was really great. I really liked that. I think it's probably underrated. And then there was this one that had some great cinematography, and I don't know if a lot of people watched it. It's kind of old, but it's like you have sex with a certain person, they pass this creature off to you that just follows you, and it looks like everybody else, take the form of everybody, and it keeps following you slowly till it tracks you down and kills you. It's crazy. So it's like, I don't even remember the name of that. I wish I remembered the name of them because they were great, but they were pretty good. What about you, Lacey?
Wasn't that one called It Follows?
Yes,
yeah,
that's what it was called. It Follows. I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, I know the other one you were talking about, but I forgot the name of that one too. But yeah. The one that I would recommend, I guess it's more of a dark comedy, but it's one that I really like. It's called Jennifer's Body, and it has Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried in it. And basically, they're two best friends, but they're unlikely best friends. You got one who's like the popular girl who gets all the guys, and the other one is the nerdy girl. Jennifer, she actually ends up becoming a succubus. I think it might be considered a cult classic, but I think it's like a comfort movie for when I need a good laugh, you know. And I would recommend that.
So, real quick, the two movies I think you guys should check out are Case 39 with Renee Zellweger. One of the most classic scenes. It's about like an evil kid that she adopts. She's burning the house down to try to kill the kid. And she's just sitting on the couch while the whole house is on fire around her. One of my favorite scenes in any horror movie I've ever seen. And you also should check out Tag. It's a Japanese horror movie with extreme gore in it. And it's a weird, I don't want to ruin the plot twist, but it has a crazy plot twist. But yeah, extreme gore, like people getting ripped in half and stuff. So definitely awesome.
Well, we're almost out of time. So quickly, Lacey, can you plug something for us real quick before we run out of time?
Yeah, I am Gamer of Faith on Twitch and Faithful Gamer on Twitter.
All right. What about you, Jay? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so Cold Nights Gaming on YouTube, Cold Nights Gaming on Twitch, on Twitter, because I got locked out of my old account years ago. It's Cold Nights Gami1 because I couldn't get my other one back. So, yeah, and tomorrow we're going to be releasing our Unearthing the Collection video, episode 2. You're definitely going to want to check that out, where we're going over PSP, big box games, and DS games I found in that wonderful collection closet. So definitely check that out. And we should have some more Cold Takes podcast episodes coming up shortly with some new special guests. So good times. And thanks for having me on, Phil.
You're welcome, buddy. I'm always happy to have you as my co-host. So that is pretty much this podcast, everybody. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. That's how you one-up the channel. And if you are subscribed, like, comment, share this for additional one-ups. I'd greatly appreciate it. That's how you be a part of the one-up family. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Lacey, for coming on. And we'll see you in the next video. Happy gaming and collecting, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.